Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Salt Air. I am your host and Salt Community Manager, Janae Andrus, and I'm here with Tom Hatch, the creator of Salt itself. What's up, Tom?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty great. We're excited to be on Salt Air, where we get granular on salt. And if you don't want to miss an episode, be sure to subscribe by hitting the button below. Today, we're going to talk about plugin-oriented programming. And when Tom told me he wanted to talk about this, he was like, let's talk about plugin-oriented programming. And I said, oh, so POP. POP being one of our additional open source projects and features. And he said, no, it's different from POP. So I'm excited to dive in and get granular on this. Tom, please elaborate why POP, which I believe stands for plugin-oriented programming, is different from plugin-oriented programming.
So I haven't been fantastic in naming things in this case. Naming things is hard. I'm actually going to start by saying that for those of you who are familiar with Isaac Asimov, a very prolific science fiction author, people used to send him letters asking him to name things. So other sci-fi authors would send him letters and call him saying, I need help naming things, because he was really good at it. Because it's really hard. So cut me some slack. Okay, now, POP is the Python implementation of the plugin-oriented programming paradigm. And so that's where things get different, is that plugin-oriented programming is the programming paradigm that I've been developing. POP is a Python implementation of plugin-oriented programming. And I probably should have named it something else, but whatever, we're done. And so really what happened is that there's the Salt Loader. And the Salt Loader is a plugin system, and we write plugin systems all the time as engineers. I mean, software engineers love plugin systems because plugins are a fantastic way to write software. And as Salt began to evolve, I wrote a plugin system right out the gate. So the Salt Loader was in the first version of Salt. And so I wrote a plugin system right out the gates. And I found that very quickly I was using the plugin system for more things, because I wrote the plugin system for execution modules. And that's why the folder they're in is just called modules. It's because I was just like, oh, it's the plugins of this system. But I quickly discovered that I wanted to create more plugin systems. And so we started tacking more and more of them on. By the time we got to the 0.17 release, Salt had something like 9 or 10 plugin subsystems.
9 or 10, wow.
Yeah, so Grains is a plugin system, Pillar is a plugin system, Renders are a plugin system. Yeah, and so on and so forth. And so I started to realize that, oh, the plugin system's a really good idea. And then in the community, we asked, hey, what are some of the best ideas in Salt? And a lot of people came back and said that they felt that the plugin system in Salt was the best idea in Salt. Yeah,
that was a resounding feedback from the community.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised because I saw it as kind of a background component. And at that point, I thought, well, what would it look like if I tore the plugin system out and I made it more standalone? And so I started working on something that I called Pack, and it looked a lot like the Salt Loader. And then I iterated on it a couple of times. And then I thought, what would this look like if I wrote it in a different programming language? And so I made a prototype of it in Rust and in Go and in OCaml and in C. And then I came back and redid it in Python. And also in Julia. I love Julia. Brilliant language. Every time Julia comes up. Anyway, I'm not going to get distracted.
Don't tell your fiance how much you love Julia.
She knows. And so when I implemented it in Julia, I had to make a number of changes to deal with Julia's object-oriented model. And so I came out of that with kind of a new view of how to do it. And so then I started working on what I called Pack 2 in Python. And over time, I realized that it had been so complete, the kind of transformation of how to write software, is that I'd made a new programming paradigm. And that I needed to step back and begin to evaluate, what is this programming paradigm and how can this paradigm begin to evolve? And so I changed PAC's name into POP. And so POP became, again, the evolution of this paradigm. And so when we come back and we look at plugin-oriented programming, the view of plugin-oriented programming is to say that, what does it look like if 100% of our software is pluggable and 100% of the aspects of our software are pluggable? How does this change how software development works? And does it allow us to get a broader view and a broader scope of programming? Does it make software engineering easier and more powerful and more fluid? And so what I did was, inside of POP, this implementation of plugin-oriented programming, I started to explore the paradigm more. And some people have come in and looked at POP and said, oh, I love it and I get it, and they write POP code. But most people come in and they say, oh, I get it, I get what's going on here, and then I'm going to write Python code and try and shove it into POP. And I come back and say, no, it's a paradigm. You've got to think in the paradigm. It's built on Python, so you have the power of Python, which makes it convenient, but you should program in POP. And a lot of people have really struggled with this concept. And so it's also why I try and separate and say that, look, plugin-oriented programming is a paradigm that's being explored. And so when we come back and we look at plugin-oriented programming, what it does is it allows you to create software that is 100% pluggable. Everything in your software is a plugin.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's really cool, because all of a sudden the software itself becomes modular on a whole other layer. But the software itself also becomes natively pluggable with each other. So it's not just a collection of plugins. An application becomes pluggable into another application. And so
would you say that this feature of Salt is a big part of why Salt is so applicable to so many different things and so moldable, and you can do so many different things with it? Is this plugin-oriented programming a key feature of that capability of Salt?
Yeah, so one of the things that was exciting about Salt is, as the developments of Salt helped me begin to look at the development of plugin-oriented programming, is that since Salt has so many plugin systems in it, right now it's well over 30 plugin subsystems inside of Salt. That's one of the major things that makes it flexible.
Yeah, so we've gone from about 10 to 30. That's significant.
Yeah, it might be 40. I haven't counted them for
30 plus.
Yeah, because what happens is that when you make pluggable software, the applicability of the software grows significantly, and its moldability grows. And this is also a concept that I felt was really important about the Unix philosophy. So Unix spelled UNIX for some of our younger viewers. Unix, of course, is the original, or I should say original. It is the operating system model that most modern operating systems, basically everything that isn't Windows almost, is based on. And this is the reason why open source works, is because every aspect of Unix makes things pluggable and interactable and interchangeable. And so I wanted to be able to take that model but extend it into software development. So that, again, everything, it can latch onto each other in a really smooth and easy way. And yeah, so with POP, I began to learn how that is, but at the same time, I feel like there's limitations I'm still running into as I try to really express the paradigm in a way that can get people more excited about it.
Yeah, no, but that's huge. And that's significant that you were able to take that feedback from the community, recognize the capability and opportunity within Salt, and create that element that has made Salt so moldable and even more applicable across the board for so many different applications for users. That's fantastic. So plugin-oriented programming, key to Salt. And thank you for that deep dive into that. We love getting granular on Salt here and getting granular on plugin-oriented programming. So we're going to wrap up for today. Thank you so much, Tom, as always, for making us just a little smarter. And we will catch you all next time. We're here every week. Have a great day.